Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday night segment of Divine Femininity United. I'm your girl, Dr. Bianca Mz Bee Lee, and we are here for another chapter reading through this amazing book, Letting Go. It is The Pathway of Surrender, written by the late great David R. Hawkins, PhD. This book has been beautifully transformative, okay, transforming. And speaking of transformation, that is tonight's topic, chapter 17, transformation. Before we get started, as you all know, we are airing live on several platforms: Clubhouse, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, all of the places. And I want to thank everyone who has since recently subscribed. Thank you so very much for your subscription. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your energy, your presence. Thank you for all of you, because that is why we're here. Okay, we are holding each other hand, walking each other home, and it takes togetherness to do such a thing. Okay, it does. I want to say this before I even get started. You all, in life, let's talk about transformation really quickly. In life, as we transform, as we evolve, right? Because we evolve whether we know it or not. Even in our physical bodies, we evolve. None of us who are of adult age are still with our baby bodies, not at all. Okay, so we evolve, we're evolving. That is the whole order of this iteration, evolution. Even the planets, solar system evolves, nature evolves. Where right now we're evolving and transitioning from summer to fall. Evolution is our makeup, right? And sometimes that evolution, when you evolve from one level to another, you got to understand that what was once on that previous level of you, once you enter into a new level of you, some of those things on that previous level, you'll no longer have a taste for. You'll no longer have a desire to be around, to associate yourself with, to talk to be around. And it's not to say that you think you're better or whatever the case. No, you know you are, right? And from your better stage, from your betterment, it's not a sense of I'm up here and everything else is down here. No, it is a knowing that I am not who I used to be. I have evolved from that place, from that mindset, from that physical status, from that old thing. I've evolved. I am not who I once was. And from that newness of me, everything around me now has to either level up to where I am or it dispels, right? And that goes for people, places, or things, mindsets, habits, perspectives. We have to shed old skin in whatever avenue that may come in. I know it may be hard to do so because some of this old skin, quote unquote, that we are shedding comes in the form of friends, comes in the form of some family members, comes in the form of some old habits, some old, collectives, some old mindsets. It comes in those forms, and we've developed such an attachment to those old things. But there is no way in the world that we can grow in the future and still be tethered to our past. At some point, we're going to be split down the middle. One of them has to go. And we are in an age of transformation. We are all transforming, whether we want to or not. So it's up to you. Everybody can't go. We've heard that term. Everybody can't go. Everybody can't go. And everybody wants to be loyal. Loyalty, this and then the third. Let me tell you something. I am loyal to my purpose. I am loyal to my path and my trajectory here in this life. That's what I'm loyal to. Now, other people, if they want to come along and other things want to come along, that's perfectly fine. But understand that this train is going to continue to move. Okay? If you don't want to keep up with the train, and you can't keep up with the train, I love you. I mean it. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. But this is where we depart. And I wish you nothing but the best. Okay? That's how that has to happen. You got to release in order for you to fly higher, in order for you to scale up, in order for you to soar. Some things gotta go. Erica Badu, she has a whole song called "The Bag Lady." Bag lady, you gonna miss your bus, dragging all them bags like that. You gotta cut the bags loose in order for you to be able to take off and propel. Okay, transformation we're talking about here. As you all know, I like to jump right in. I know I had to say that because that was on me. We're in that area. We're in that air right now because there's a whole lot of things cosmically happening that is calling for us to release old things. However that comes in, whatever package it comes in, we're called to release old things right now in the season. We're being called to remove clutter, release old things, get rid of old associations that are no longer serving you. Hello, get rid of old things that are sitting around your home. Clean, reset, renew, transform. That's what this season is calling for us to do, from within ourselves and outside of ourselves. Okay. All righty. Now, speaking of transformation, let's go straight into our book reading, chapter 17. If you have your book, definitely follow along with me. If not, no worries, I can read for you. If you have any thoughts from wherever platform you're listening from, feel free to utilize the comment section, the chat, and share your thoughts, share your insights, okay? And I will give voice to your words, all right? Here we go. Chapter 17, Transformation. Although letting go seems simple and easy, its ultimate effects are profoundly powerful. A quick little surrender done in an almost offhanded manner can sometimes bring about a major change in our life. We can picture it being similar to the wheel of a ship. If we make even a 1 degree change in the ship's compass, we will notice very little difference. But as the ship sails over the sea, hour after hour, day after day, a 1 degree change in the compass will end up taking us to a very different place, many miles from where the original course would have taken us. In this chapter, we want to look at the effect that the mechanism of surrender has on those areas of life with which most people are concerned: health, wealth, and happiness. We will discuss these areas as they are usually experienced by the majority of people and make a contrast to the changes that will occur as the practice of letting go progresses. These changes are quite obvious when we watch the lives of others who use the technique. They will become obvious in your own life as well. Sometimes you will not be aware of them. Therefore, it is suggested that you keep a list of goals and check off the gains as they occur so that you remain conscious and aware of the progress. This self-awareness step is to circumvent a peculiarity of the mind. When we decide on a specific technique to improve our life, and when improvement occurs, the mind has a peculiar tendency to discount the very technique that brought about the change. It is as though the mind's ego is so vain that it doesn't want to give credit where credit is due. This proclivity of mind to discount inner progress is sometimes quite comical. For instance, a man who had been stuck in the same job position for 23 years began using the technique of letting go. Within a couple months, he suddenly jumped to the position of vice president, and by the end of the year, he was president of the company. When asked if he was pleased with himself about what he had accomplished by using the inner technique, his mind totally discounted it and ascribed his gains to quote unquote shifts in business patterns. His marriage had also improved, and the mind again ascribed the improvements to external reasonings, meaning, he stated, my wife's attitudes finally changed. The relationship with his son also improved, and the mind again circumvented the inner transformation and said it was due to the fact that his son was, quote unquote, getting older. In the discussions that follow, it will be noted that the transitions from one state to a higher state are not difficult to make. They may only seem difficult to us because of current perceptions. It's important to keep in mind that as we surrender, our perceptions will change. Our goals will automatically be elevated. What now seems impossible will become old hat after it says old hat, after we have been practicing the technique a while. We will also notice that as the mind contrasts the lower level of life with the higher level, a peculiar resistance to the description of the higher level of functioning will occur at times. The mind will get critical and try to save face by ridiculing a higher state. This is a golden opportunity because this is the very attitude that prevents a person from reaching that higher state of life. The very process of reading this material is invaluable, for it will reveal precisely what the blocks are and exactly why these goals are impossible at the present time. As resistances, criticisms, and disparagements come up, we can begin surrendering them and letting them go right now in the process of reading about them. It is a great opportunity to identify the inner blocks to fulfillment. As Pogo said, we have identified the enemy and it is us. Come on. We have identified the enemy and it is us. It has never been anybody else. I say this often with my clients. You have never been a victim. Yes, certain things have occurred. But if we take ourselves out of it and put all of the components on the table and dissect through it and understand that most times, a lot of the situations that we found ourselves in were a result of our own choices, decisions, being in the wrong place, wrong time, associated with the wrong people, saying the wrong things, doing the wrong. It's a lot of things, and the enemy has always been us. Okay. As a professional psychotherapist and psychiatrist with many decades, let me go back. A lot of times, majority of the times, the enemy is us. Okay. There are some times where, it's out of our hands. We have no control. We're too young. We found ourselves born in circumstances. I had to acknowledge that I felt somebody, I felt that, yeah. Okay. All right. As a professional psychotherapist and a psychiatrist with many decades of clinical experience and training, these higher levels of functioning were considered to be impossible for most people. However, learning how the mechanism of surrender works on the practical level and watching hundreds of families, friends, patients, and ex-patients transform their lives has totally changed this view. Now, higher levels of functioning are seen to be automatic, easy to achieve, and available to everyone, often in a surprisingly short period of time. As a matter of fact, some of these levels of success and happiness will seem impossible, but the higher level will already have occurred by the time you have finished reading this book. Come on. Listen, that's something to look forward to. You can tell yourself right in the beginning that these high levels of functioning are not only possible, but they are an inherent birthright. They are the natural state of which you have been deprived by all of the programming that the mind has been subjected to since birth. Yes. Before reading on, it is advisable to sit quietly and make an inner decision to let go resisting higher levels of functioning. This means to make a decision to stop denying the higher levels to yourself and to make a decision to let go of all blocks to happiness, success, health, acceptance, love, and peace. By doing this, the deed is already done. For you have set the whole experience into a context that will automatically begin to unfold. That's it right there. The power of decision making, you all. The power of decision making. I don't know about you, but I have decided that everything that does not serve my higher good has to be released and let go. Everyone that is attached to me or connected to me that is not good for me and my higher good has to be released and let go. Every mindset, every thought process, every paradigm, every feeling, every belief system, everything that does not serve my higher good, I release and let go. I don't care how long it's been around. I don't care if we've been connected since birth. Everything, every person, and every place that does not serve my higher good, whether it's unforgiveness, whether it's lack mentality, whether it's connections, old associations, chaotic ways, procrastination, whatever it is that does not serve my higher good, I now release and dispel it from me. Okay? All right, here we go. Going into the subject matter of health. The average person is preoccupied with the body, its functioning, performance, appearance, and survival. The average mind is beleaguered and with worry, fears of sickness, suffering, disease, and death. Therefore, the mind sets about defending the body in a great variety of ways. This leads to over attention to diet, weight, exercise, and the health of the environment. With such inattention, by the end of the day, the average person frequently feels like a victim, drained, empty, and exhausted. One consequence of this preoccupation with the body is self consciousness. Within the field of awareness, the body's presence is prominent, and there is a mental fixation with what it is doing, its whereabouts and movements, its survival, the attitudes and approval of other persons toward the body, its appearance and the behavior. Underlying all of this concern is the unconscious equation: I am a body. This is a very limited level of consciousness. In fact, in the spiritual world, this is called being unconscious because it is a false identification due to a marked narrowing of awareness. It is like wearing blinders. It is like having a pimple on the nose and thinking that the whole world now revolves around the pimple and going through the day with that pimple most prominent in your mind. Be aware of how much energy is drained by this constant preoccupation with the body. Our mind has been continuously programmed with a countless variety of belief systems about our bodies, what it needs, what will be good for it, and its infinite number of vulnerabilities. This leads to constant preoccupations with all kinds of health preventative measures, including health food fads, the endless reading of labels for potentially poisonous ingredients, the fear of being near someone smoking a cigarette, the fear of dust and pollens and all of the supposed contaminants and of the environment. There's an obsession with the offsetting all of these dangers, quote unquote, by various countermeasures. As we have seen from previous discussions, these vulnerabilities are merely the product of the mind, and the body will react to what is held in the mind. This was demonstrated in our discussion of multiple personalities, where the body reflected in each instant what that particular personality and mind believed. As we begin letting go of all of these fears, canceling the belief systems, and reaffirming that our true higher self is infinite and not subject to limitations, we move into a higher state of health, wellness, and vital energy. A helpful way to phrase it to ourselves is: I am an infinite being, not subject to whatever that thing is. We put into the blank space whatever disease or substance that the mind has been programmed to see as a possible danger for us. After letting go of the endless variety of bodily fears, concerns, and belief systems, physical illnesses begin to resolve automatically. There's an increase in the feeling of aliveness and personal freedom. In the state of total surrender, the body is barely perceived at all. It is only peripherally in awareness, and there is no preoccupation with it. It functions effortlessly, smoothly, and with very little attention. A surrendered person can eat anything and go anywhere and is no longer subject to fears of contaminants, pollutants, drafts, germs, electromagnetic frequencies, carpet, smoke, dust, animal dander, poison ivy, pollen, or food dyes. Our perception of the body shifts, and it now seems to be like a puppet or a pet. This shift of perception is from I am the body to I have a body. That's it. That's it. I talked about yesterday to someone, a good friend of mine, talking about the mastering of being connected to a thing, but not attached to the thing. We are spirits who has a body, who lives as a body, right? But we are not the body, right? So we can shift this perception from I am the body to I have a body. It becomes progressively obvious that the body is not experiencing itself at all. On the contrary, it is the mind that is experiencing the body. Without the mind, the body cannot be perceived at all. The arm cannot experience its armness. Only the mind can experience the armness. This, of course, is the very basis of anesthesia. When the mind is asleep, the body has no sensation. It slowly dawns on us that, in fact, The body doesn't have any sensation. Only the mind is capable of that function. That is so true. This is excuse me, this is a very important shift of consciousness because now the preoccupation is not with the body and defending it. The focus of attention now shifts to the mind, which is where the greater power lies. As we shift our thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, we begin to notice that the body follows suit. We recognize that people are not really responding to our body at all, but to our inner attitudes, our energy state, and our level of awareness. One day it dawns on us that everyone and everything in the world are responding to our level of consciousness, our intention, and to the inner feeling we have about them. We register the magnetism of saintly people such as Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama, and Mahatma Gandhi. We see that they are beloved not because of their physical appearance, but because of the inner radiance of love and peace they emanate. The shift of focus from the physical level to the level of consciousness begins to bring rapid results. A persistent surrender of negative feelings and attitudes mean that the associated guilt is also being constantly relinquished. A consciousness that is not guilt ridden tends no longer to attract disease. That's true. That is true. Excuse me. In the unconscious, guilt requires punishment and sickness with its attendant pain and suffering as the mind's most frequent means of self retaliation. This self retaliation may take the form of an accident, cold, attack of the flu, arthritis, or any of the multiple diseases that the mind has invented. These diseases take epidemic forms due to television and media publication. Yeah. When a prominent figure shares with the public some serious illnesses, there's a sudden jump in the incidence of that illness. It's true. The unconscious grabs hold of a disease and utilizes it to settle the score. With the constant surrender of inner guilt, there is less and less of a score to be settled. Therefore, a person who is free of negativity and guilt tends to be free of disease and suffering. That's it. The healing can be dramatic. There was the case, for example, of a magazine publisher who was in a hopeless state of advanced multiple sclerosis. The medical profession had done what it could and had given her up as a terminal hopeless case. At that point, she came upon a technique of relinquishing guilt by studying the workbook of A Course in Miracles. In working with this home study course, which consists of contemplating exactly one short lesson a day for 365 days, she began to undo all of her guilt and resentment through the mechanisms of forgiveness. By constantly forgiving and undoing the negative feelings, and therefore undoing her inner guilt, the disease and multiple sclerosis reversed itself. As of this writing, she has been recovered for years and is in radiant, glowing health, happy with her life. Health and well being, then, are generally the automatic consequences of letting go of guilt and other negativities, as well as the letting go of our resistance to the positive states of health and well being. Through the surrender mechanism, the whole gamut of illnesses can be resolved into wellness. As was said earlier, there may be uncommon cases in which illness or infirmity continues unabated due to unknown factors, such as karmic proclivities. Continual surrender brings healing at the level of inner being so that even while the body appears to suffer limitations and others may see it as tragic, the person is at peace and radiates an inner well being that uplifts others. Through surrender at great depth, such persons have let go of self pity, guilt, and resistance to life circumstances. They have transcended the view that their illness is a barrier to personal happiness and see it as a vehicle of blessing to others. In recent years, public examples of this phenomenon have included the late Pope John Paul II, who approached his unremitting Parkinson's disease as a spiritual opportunity to become one with and even to take on the suffering of others. Okay. Next section is wealth. Wealth. This is an important subject, not only because it has such a direct effect on our life, but also because it so quickly and easily makes obvious our feelings, thoughts, and attitudes about money. To the mind that holds limiting belief systems and negative thoughts and feelings, money is a quote unquote problem. It is a source of endless worry and anxiety, hopelessness and despair, or of vanity, pride, arrogance, intolerance of others, jealousy, and envy. At its worst, the end result of all the negativity is a feeling of financial limitation, lack, and deprivation. In this area, the feeling I can't due to fear and limitation is often skirted by simply avoiding the whole issue of money and resigning oneself to a low social economic status as inevitable. That's so true. Just the other day, I had to deal with somebody who, they had a debt, they have a debt, we have a shared, thing that we're covering and we've been covering for quite some time. And when reminding her of the obligation and how much we have left to pay by end of year, oh, she ran, she bolted, you all. I'm talking about blocked and took off running. I said, my goodness. So needless to say, I need to be prepared to cover that expense myself because she bolted. She bolted. Why? Because of the fear and limitation. Okay, fear and limitation, lack mentality, deprivation. Man, it's something how much it grips us in this realm of wealth and money and resources. Okay, as I continue, the unconscious brings to us what it thinks we deserve. If our view of ourselves is small, limited, and miserly due to accumulated guilt, then the unconscious will bring those economic conditions into our life. Listen, I'm gonna say that again. The unconscious brings to us what it thinks we deserve. Going back to that circumstance I talked about yesterday, day before yesterday, because of her own unconscious thinking, this is what she believes she deserves. She doesn't believe she can pay it, therefore she jetted from it. She evaded it. She ejected herself from the obligation. You see what I'm saying? Because she doesn't think that she can do it. It goes on to say, if our own view of ourselves is small, limited, and miserly due to accumulated guilt, then the unconscious will bring those economic conditions into our lives. So, do we think that us running from obligation out of fear of lack and not being able to do it, do we think that's going to change our economic situation? No, if anything, it's going to make it worse. We are calling things to our own lives by what we emit into the atmosphere. Is the law of attraction. He goes on to say our attitudes about money can be discovered when we look at the many things that it means. For example, we see that degree to which it stands for security, power, glamour, sexual attraction, successful competition, self-worth, and our value to others and the world. It is very useful to sit down with a pencil and paper and under the heading money begin to delineate what its real meanings are in all the various avenues of life. Then write down the feelings that are associated with each area and begin to surrender on each negative feeling and attitude. As we do this, we have the surprising discovery that money in and of itself is not the most basic issue. More important than money itself are the emotional gratifications that we hope will be ours with the use of that money. Let's say that behind the desire of money, we discover that one of our goals is to be respected and valued. In that discovery, we have just found out that it isn't money itself that we are interested in. Rather, it is our self respect and a feeling of inner worth. We see that money was just a tool to achieve something else, and that, as a matter of fact, it isn't money that we want at all, but the self respect and esteem we thought it would bring us. Something that should be coming from within and not from money or without. It will also dawn on us that the goals with which we thought money would bring us can be achieved directly. The higher the higher our inner self-esteem, the less we need the approval of others. Come on. The higher our own inner self-esteem, the less we need the approval of others. As we uncover these awarenesses, money takes on a different meaning in each area of life. Money now becomes subservient to higher goals rather than an end unto itself. Yes. Without being conscious of what money means to us emotionally, we are at the effect of it. We are being run by our unconscious beliefs about money and all of its associated programs. It is like the millionaire who keeps piling up more and more millions. There never seems to be enough. Why is that? It is because he has never stopped to look at what money really means to him. If we obsessively chase after money or other symbols of wealth, it is because our inner self worth is so small that it takes a huge amount of money to compensate for it. The inner insecurity is so extensive that no amount of money can overcome it. It might be said that the smaller we feel about ourselves, the greater amount of power, money, and glamour must be accumulated in order to try and compensate for the inner smallness. Man, oh man, oh man. When we are in a surrender state, we are free from that inner smallness, insecurity, and low self esteem. Then money becomes merely a tool to achieve our goals in the world. We have an inner security, knowing that there will always be sufficient abundance. We will always get what we need when we need it because we have an inner feeling of completion, fulfillment, and satisfaction. Money then becomes a source of pleasure rather than a source of anxiety. On a certain level, we may even appear to be indifferent to money. When we need it to complete a project, it just magically seems to appear from somewhere. We feel nonchalant about it because we are connected to the source of our own power. When we re-own the power that we have given to money and see that it is our own power, we are no longer concerned about money, nor do we need to accumulate a great deal of it. Once we have the formula for gold, we don't need to carry a bag of it on our shoulder with all of its attendant worries and anxiety. That's it. You got the formula already. The problem with excessive accumulation of money, of course, is the constant fear of losing it. It is a tragicomic to watch someone who is worth $50 million practically have a nervous breakdown because through a business oversight, he lost $10 million. The man was actually in a panic. Emotionally, he was frightened that he would not be able to survive on the planet with only $40 million. The person who suffers from inner poverty is relentlessly driven to accumulate on the material level. With this inner poverty, there is the whole attitude of selfishness, or its correlates of vanity and false pride. It is very common for people who use the letting go technique suddenly to come into abundance. Struggling actors now have starring roles in Hollywood. A playwright on the edge of poverty becomes the producer of a smash Broadway hit. Paradoxically, some people have outgrown or grown so nonchalant about money that they have chosen to get rid of a lot of money and live a much simpler life. They are no longer interested in money. They have mastery over it. The inner satisfactions that they had sought by means of money are now satisfied directly, so that the inner happiness is independent of outer wealth. Is in this state of inner freedom. One is independent of the outer world and no longer at the effect of it. This is because one transcends that which one has mastered. That is good. Oh my goodness, to be free, you all, to be in living in liberation of that right there would free a whole lot of people. I kid you not. That would free a whole lot of people. You'll stop dodging telemarketers. You'll stop, acting like you're not here. You'll stop disguising your voice, saying that, oh, she moved. Oh, this is not her number, his number anymore. You'll stop doing all of that stuff. Come on now. Anytime a bill comes into my place, I look at it, I open it, and I say, I say, you've already been paid. And then I write on it, thank you, paid in full, thank you. Sure do. And some depending on what it is, I don't know how it's going to get paid, but that's not my job. That is not my job. All I know is that every single time it comes due, it's paid. Every single time. Because I am not connected to the need, the lack, money, and driven by, I am not at all. I know my abilities. And I know I am an attractor. I am a magnet to the things that I need when I need them. When they arrive, when the resources arrive, that is it arriving on time, in purpose, on purpose, on time, in time. It comes when it's supposed to come, not when I say so. You know what I'm saying? And I'm okay with that. I'm 100% okay with that. I don't care when it comes, as long as it comes, and as long as it takes care of what it needs to take care of. And it does every single time. And I have a knowing in that. I trust that. I allow that process to happen, right? That's what it is. But it took me a minute to get here. I'm not going to lie. I was definitely one that was tethered to the concern of money. Oh my goodness. But when I released that, when I let that go, and when I took back the power, like you said, you got to re-own your own power. I did that. And I'm grateful, man. It's a freedom like no other. It is. It is a freedom like no other. Next section, happiness. Happiness, happiness. We went over health, now money, now happiness. Then money, now happiness. In the sections of health and wealth, we have already touched upon important areas relating to overall happiness. We now will focus more on inner emotional life, because that is where we all really live. The purpose of health and wealth is, after all, merely because we presume, and to some extent it is true, that they result in happiness. Happiness can be experienced directly. However, and on this level, it is relatively independent of wealth and health. Let's take an objective look at the average view of happiness. To begin with, the happiness is extremely vulnerable. A chance remark, a critical comment, a raised eyebrow, or a car cutting into line ahead of us are all sufficient to blow the average person's happiness in an instant. The threat of a job loss, a feeling of distrust in a relationship, a foreboding remark by a doctor, or an impertinent cab driver are sufficient to ruin the day for many of us. Why is our happiness so fragile that commonplace occurrences can ruin the whole day? In the section on the anatomy of emotions, we have already looked at the reasons for this. As a result of negative feelings, thoughts, and attitudes, together with the constant judgment and criticism of other people, we often feel separated from others. Because of this feeling of inner aloneness and separation, relationships take on the form of attachments, with all the fear, anger, and jealousy that accompany any threat to those attachments. The inner negativity results in such commonly held beliefs as you are born alone and you die alone. How many times do we say that to ourselves? Nothing, in fact, is further from the truth. As recent books on near-death experiences reveal, it is during life that one often feels alone. And at the moment of death, there's an absolute feeling of oneness and connectedness. Yes, that comes from Edie, written in 1992 by Neil in 2011. I've read both of those books. They are phenomenal. Oh my goodness. Because of attachments, dependencies, and inner smallness, we may feel weak and limited. The guilty intolerance of our inner thoughts and feelings are projected onto the world, making the world look like a fearful place. Because of these fears are held in our mind, fearful events and experiences are literally brought into our life experience. Fear results in chronic anger and makes us prone to attack and to inner emotional chaos. Pain and suffering occur with periodic despair and proneness to emotional upset. The ego mind, which sees everyone as separate, is envious of anyone who appears happier, more successful, or with a better relationship, better body, a better connection. Soon, because of the lack of inner clarity about goals, there is confusion leading to self-pity, envy, and further resentment. Self-condemnation gets endlessly projected onto the world, taking the form of condemnation from others, which increases further the guilt and feeling of smallness. My goodness. For some of us, the only escape is through grandiosity, intolerance, bigotry, arrogance, and anger, which take the form of cruelty, overbearingness, brutality, and insensitivity to the feelings of others. Often, the insensitivity comes with self excuses, such as, I am an upfront person who speaks my mind, or I am the frank type. You always know where you stand with me. These comments are a cover up for insensitivity, which might be better described as gulch. The low self esteem results in criticism of self and others, constant competition and comparison, analyzing, contempt, intellectualization, doubt, and fantasies of revenge. When all of those mechanisms fail, there is the recurrence of apathy and revenge and feelings of hopelessness and victimization. In such a state, we become progressively alienated because there is so much of ourselves that we must hide. Our behavior leads to isolation from others and an imbalance due to overvaluation of the areas of life that do seem to work. Because of this inner chaos, the average person must of necessity stay unconscious at all times. It is interesting to watch the means that the mind has invented to accomplish this end. We watch as a person gets up in the morning and flips on the radio or the television to immediately get the mind off the self and its mental chatter. Despite the extra amusement, thoughts and feelings tend to arise until the mind becomes preoccupied with the projects of the day, work, and various schemes of accomplishment or pleasure. It starts the preoccupation with the body. All of the brushing, washing, perfuming, powdering, deodorizing, and carefully selecting the clothes for the day. The choosing of the clothes brings up all the schedules of the day. It's busyness with activities that have all been crowded into the day. The endless appointments, phone calls, errands, social engagements, home responsibilities, and emails. On the way to work or the day's activities, there is a chatting with companions, listening to the car radio, making the cell phone calls, sending text messages, and reading the morning newspaper on the subject. Once at the destination, there follows the preoccupation with the external events of the day. The business, the deals, the bargains and arrangements, the worries, the manipulations, and endless search for power, the quest for strokes, and the ever present fear of survival. All of this is motivated by the desire to somehow derive meaning and security, and to increase our self esteem and ensure our self worth by whatever means. The franticness of the struggle is not really realized until we are suddenly forced to discontinue it by some external event. Then we are confronted with the internal emptiness. This calls for the incessant ingestion of novels, magazines, television, and websites, or the emptiness is avoided by the constant going to parties, escaping through drugs, numbing out with a few drinks, watching movies, and pursuing other amusements. We tend to do just about anything to avoid facing that feeling of inner emptiness. There's nothing wrong with any of these activities in and of themselves. What we want to examine is only the state of consciousness, the state of awareness, and the manner in which the activities are perceived, pursued, and experienced. In a state of inner freedom, these same events and experiences take on a totally different significance. The identical activities can stem from an inner sense of happiness, self-worth, and completeness. The same goals can be fulfilled through the realization of our inner achievement rather than competition with others. Relationships become sharing and loving rather than jealous, competitive, and driven by the seeking of strokes and approval. When we are free of negative drives, we enjoy gratifying relationships because we love people, not because we are attached to them. We can allow the other person to be free, not subject to jealousy or threat. We are not the victims of manipulation by others because we have already found an inner fulfillment. As negative thoughts, feelings, and attitudes are relinquished, we own the power. We re-own the power that we have given over to the world. Much of the attraction of the world is due to the glamorization that we have projected onto it. Questions arise for self-reflection. Is it really all that money that I want, or is it the glamour that I have attached to it? What is it that I want from the job title or from that designation of doctor or esquire and reverend? Is it the responsibility and activities that go along with it, or is it the glamour and esteem associated with it? Do I really love that person, or am I in love with the glamour I have projected onto him or her? The more we let go, the more we de-glamorize the world. The more it is de-glamorized, the less it runs us. We're not at the effect of glamour and can no longer be manipulated by it. We are no longer vulnerable to the professional programmers of the media and the political and social arenas. We're no longer at the effect of an inner need for approval from others. We begin to love people for what they are, not for what they can do for us. We no longer need to exploit others or try to win them over. As our own level of guilt decreases, our self esteem expands. Relationships are now based on integrity, and we are no longer subject to emotional blackmail. Wow. As a corollary, we stop trying to blackmail others with emotional pressure because relationships are based on honesty and they exist and function on a higher plane. There is no longer a fear of alienation or feeling of aloneness. The surrendered person is no longer needs others for personal fulfillment, but is with them out of choice because of love and enjoyment. Okay, compassion for others and for their humanness transforms life and all relationships. That is good. Man, happiness, regardless of what the title, what the connection, what just a choice to be happy. And then to question why the attachments. Why are we attached to this, that, and the third? What is it? What's the real reason why I need this? Or I have to have that? Or, I have to be seen as this. What is the real reason behind it? Because ultimately it's being used to fulfill an internal limitation, an internal void somewhere. The next section, the state of inner freedom. What does life become when one continuously surrenders? What is possible? In the surrender state, we are independent of the outer world as a source of satisfaction because the source of happiness has been found within us. Happiness is shared with others so that in relationships, the surrendered person is supportive, sympathetic, encouraging, patient, and tolerant. There is an effortless appreciation of the worth and values of others and a consideration for their feelings. Power struggles being quote unquote right and proving our point have been relinquished. There is an automatic non judgmental attitude and the supporting of others to grow, learn, experience, and fulfill their own potentialities. There's an easygoing, nurturing acceptance of others. We feel relaxed, vibrant, and full of energy. Excuse me, life events flow automatically and effortlessly. We no longer respond from a motive of sacrifice or quote unquote giving up something for others. Instead, we see ourselves as being of loving service to others and the world. Life events are seen as opportunities rather than challenges. The personality is gentle and open with a willingness to let go and surrender nonstop because of the unfolding and ongoing inner process of continuous revelation. As the process unfolds, we feel an inner transformation. This leads to a consistent feeling of gratitude, pleasure, and certainty about our goals. There is a living in the present rather than a preoccupation with the past or the future. There is a trusting defenselessness because of the power that was projected onto the world has been re-owned. There's an inner feeling of strength and invulnerability leading to an inner serenity. At first, there is the identification, I am the body. As the mechanism of surrender continues, it becomes quite obvious that I am the mind that experienced the body, not the body. As more feelings and belief systems are surrendered, there eventually becomes the awareness. I am not the mind either, but that which witnesses and experiences the mind, emotions, and body. Exactly. Through inner observation, there is the realization of something that remains constant and the same. No matter what goes on in the external world or with the body, emotions, or the mind, with this awareness comes a state of total freedom. The inner higher self has been discovered. The silent state of awareness that underlies all movement, activity, sound, feeling, and thought is discovered to be a timeless dimension of peace. Once identified with this awareness, we are no longer at the effect of the world, the body, or the mind. And with this awareness comes an inner calmness, stillness, and a profound sense of inner peace. We realize that this is what we were always seeking, but didn't know it because we had gotten lost in the maze. We had mistakenly equated ourselves with the outer phenomena of our hectic life, the body and its experiences, the obligations, the jobs, the titles, the activities, the problems, and the feelings. But now we realize that we are the timeless space in which the phenomena are happening. We are not the flickering images playing out their drama on the movie screen, but the screen itself, a non judgmental witness of the unfolding movie of life, with no beginning and no end, infinite in its potential. These progressive realizations of our true nature prepare the ground for the ultimate realization of the identity of consciousness with divinity itself. Ooh, that's good. To me, summed all up: master connecting, experiencing, being, and release attachment. Release attachment. Release it. Experience, just simply experience the experience, because that's what this is. Experiencing the experience. Whatever comes, good, bad, ugly, indifferent. Allow it to come. Allow it to teach you. Allow it to gain the wisdom from it. Get the experience. Solve the matters. Demonstrate, though, who you are. Demonstrate who you are. Don't allow the circumstance to alter you. You, in your knowingness and who you truly are, alter the circumstance. That's re-owning your power. That's good. That is good. That concludes today's chapter reading. That was so good. If you do not have the book, as we say every week, email me so that you can get your free ebook copy, your PDF copy of this book and any other book that we've ever read. Okay, you can email me at info@biancamzbeelee.com. Again, that is info@biancamzbeelee.com. Visit the website, you all. On Clubhouse is right above my head. Just tap the link above me and it'll take you straight there. Everywhere else is on the screen or in the captions. You can go there too in the captions. But the website is on there for you to go and visit. Take advantage of the services that I offer, the classes, resources, merchandise, books, whatever you need to do, but you can go there and get everything, okay? Be sure to follow me on social media, you all. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, wherever. It's all under Dr. Bianca Mz Bee Lee, okay? All right, you all. Next week, Sunday, we'll be reading our next chapter, which is chapter 18, and that topic is relationships. Relationships. That's going to be a good one, all right? All righty, you all. I like to let you go. I don't like to keep you on Tuesday evening. It's already late in the evening, and I want you to get yourself back to your family. You're resetting your evening, winding down from the day, getting ready for the next day, whatever the case, or just simply sitting in your own presence. That's it. That's all. Okay, I want to get you back there. All right. I love you. I mean it. There's absolutely positively nothing you can do about it. Don't you even try it. We'll see you back here on Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here at Divine Femininity United. Peace.